Hey there, and welcome back to the Leading Yourself podcast. Today, I want to continue our conversation around spring cleaning your life. Last week, if you listened to the podcast episode, I shared with you my personal framework to spring clean my life. This is a process that I have been doing for several years now. And like anything else, when you do something a few times, you start to ask yourself, how can I even take this to the next level? How can I improve this process for myself? What is missing? What is not working that I should get rid of? And what are some things that can complement this framework? Well, let me tell you that the framework remains the same. I have been applying that framework year over year, and now I do it multiple times a year. It works, and I think it adds a lot of value, at least to me personally. Today, what I want to share with you is some things on top of that framework that we talked about last week that can help you spring clean your life. These are more tactical things that you don't need a framework to follow, and you can pick and choose what things work for you based on where you are today. Let's dig in. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. Ready? Let's continue our conversation around spring cleaning. Hopefully you listened to last week's podcast episode. It was actually a rebroadcast from an episode that I did last year, but you know what? That framework that I share with you is the same framework that I've been using for years. And I think I did a decent job last year. And I was traveling and I thought, this is perfect. We can reuse the content. In fact, personally, I listened again to that podcast episode this year before I was ready to start my own spring cleaning process. If you haven't listened to that podcast episode, I really recommend that you do. It is not a prerequisite to continue the conversation today, as today we are going to be talking about a few more tactical things that either you can do instead of the framework that I shared with you last week. If you listened to it and you were like, this is too much for me, I I'm not up for it. I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can still spring clean your life without a sophisticated framework, even though it was a very simple one. If you listen to the podcast and you really like the framework and you're like, I'm going to try this, today is just some complement to what we talked last week. Okay. So here's the thing. I've been doing this process for a few years. I have been doing this process several times a year. So now I've done this multiple times. And as I do things in a routinary way to an extent, I always like to reflect and ask myself, is it still working? Is there anything that could make this better? Is it something about it that it's not working anymore that I need to change or stop? And what else would make this great? What else could add more value to this process? And for me personally, and for you as you're doing this framework. So this year, I was reflecting about that and I started to make a list of what could be some things that I can do during the month of April in the spirit of spring cleaning that will complement that framework that I shared with you last week. And Let's start by talking about what is the intent of spring cleaning. And I explained it last week in maybe in a very more sophisticated way. But if we simplify the concept, right? How this framework came about was inspired by what we traditionally call spring cleaning. What it's nothing else than decluttering and reorganizing. And that's exactly what we're doing. But instead of just decluttering and organizing our homes or our physical spaces, we are on top of that going into the mental and emotional and well-being space to see what needs to be decluttered, what needs to be reorganized so it can help us refocus on what matters most and get re-energized again and gain momentum. So today, as I said, I want to share a few tactical things. So this might not be very long of a podcast episode today. It might be a great one for those tactical things that I know a lot of you like because you keep asking for more of those things. So I think you're going to like this one. And again, this is a list, and you don't have to do all the things. You don't need to do any of them, or you can pick and choose which ones you want to try and experiment with and maybe adapt to make it your own. So here we go. Number one is the most obvious one, is to clean and declutter your physical space, right? Start by cleaning and decluttering your physical space. Go through your things. Get rid of things that you longer not need or don't use. Organize your closet, your pantry, any space that needs attention in your home. That is the most obvious one. But when we're talking about spring cleaning our life, sometimes we're like, oh, this is different than organizing our physical space. And organizing our physical space and decluttering our physical space has an influence and an impact in our mental and emotional state. When we are living or working in a space that is cluttered, it's harder to focus, and it can add to our stress and our anxiety. So, taking the time to decluttering or organizing our physical space is a really good idea as part of this spring cleaning time. The next thing that you can do to spring clean your life is to reevaluate your goals. Take some time to reevaluate your goals for the year. Do you even remember what were your goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year? A lot of things change. Change is the only constant. Probably your circumstances are different that they were in December or January when you set your goals. You have learned a lot as you've been working towards your goals. Maybe your priorities have shifted. It's a good time to reevaluate those goals. Are there any goals that you haven't made any progress on? Why is that? Are there any goals that you want to add to the list or any goals that are not important anymore and you should get rid of them? So use some time to reassess and reprioritize your goals. That's a great way to look at spring cleaning your life. The next one is to simplify your schedule. Take a look at your schedule and see where can you simplify. There is no one person that I have interacted with this year, professionally mainly, that is not really busy and overwhelmed and has so many things on their plate. It seems like that is our normal for everyone these days. So, taking the time to simplify our schedule can really help us feel our best and give our best to the things that matter most. So consider taking some time to look through all your commitments, to look through your agenda and see what are some things that you can simplify. Are there any commitments or activities that no longer serve you or that you don't longer enjoy that you can say no to? Consider also cutting back on those and then giving yourself more free time or giving yourself more time to invest in yourself. Maybe as you look at your schedule and you can do an audit of your schedule, this is something that I've talked on previous podcast episode where basically you look at everything on your calendar and you do an audit on, is this important or not? What purpose each thing serves? Do you see any patterns on your schedule? And maybe you find out as part of evaluating your schedule that you're not spending enough time with someone important in your life, or that you're not making the time to learn and to grow, or to invest in your personal development. Or maybe you find out that you're attending a lot of meetings and there is no value in you being in those meetings. Or maybe you find out that you are spending time on the wrong things. So, evaluating your schedule, simplifying it by asking you some questions like, do I still need this? Am I still enjoying this? A lot of times we keep doing things out of a habit rather than a necessity or because it's something that we enjoy doing. Number four is to practice some self care. That is a great way to supplement your spring cleaning. Make time for self care activities like exercise, meditation, maybe spending time with loved ones. Maybe you want to try a new hobby. This is a great time to do that as the weather also gets nicer and nicer. It's an excuse to get out and try some things out, or go back to the things that you once enjoy and for whatever reason you stop doing. Take care of your physical, mental, and emotional well being. How does that look like for you? What is something that you can do in the next week that will support all three of them: physical, mental, and emotional well being? Maybe is making the time to read a book, maybe is going on a walk outside, maybe is trying a new class or connecting with someone that you haven't connected in a long time, or trying meditation. Whatever that is and however that looks for you, just make sure that you're practicing some self care as part of spring cleaning your life. And who knows, you might find a new passion in practicing some of these things or trying some of these things. The next one, number five, is to connect with nature. Spend time in nature, whether it is taking a hike, going on a walk, or simply sitting outside and enjoying the sunshine. Connecting with nature can help you feel grounded and refresh. And that's what spring cleaning is about, right? And as I said, the weather is getting nicer, things are blooming, and it's a great time to be out. Well, unless you have allergies, but take precautions, take care of yourself, and enjoy some sunshine, get some vitamin D, get some fresh air, get out in nature. As I said, is something that can really help you feel grounded and refreshed. Number 6, another tactic for spring cleaning your life this year is to let go of negativity. Finally, let go of any negative thoughts or emotions that might be weighting down. Practice gratitude and focus on the positive aspects of life. This is a great time of the year if you don't have a regular gratitude practice to start one. Or maybe you have relaxed your practice. This is a great time to jump back at practicing gratitude every day and trying to think or ask yourself at the end of the day, what is one thing that went well today? What is one thing that I feel proud of today? Start asking yourself questions that will help you let go of the negativity and embrace all the positivity that you can in your life. Another way, number, what is it, 7, is to create a healthy routine. Incorporating healthy habits into your daily routine, such as exercise, meditation, healthy eating, hydration, sleep hygiene, any of those things, and there's so many others that's not limited to those, It's a great way to improve your physical and mental well being. And it's not only doing it seldomly, but here, what I'm referring to is to create routines. As we shift seasons, we move from winter to spring. The routines that you had in winter might not be the ones that serve you best in spring. So, as part of spring cleaning your life, is a great time of the year as we switch seasons to ask ourselves, are my routines serving me in this season? And what other healthy routines can I add to my already existing routines or to replace some of the routines that are not longer working so I can continue to support my physical, mental, and emotional well being on an ongoing basis? So, for example, maybe in the winter you were using your treadmill to walk. And now you're shifting your routine to instead go outside and get some fresh air as the weather gets nicer outside. Maybe in the winter, because it was cold, you had a habit of, I don't know, reading and before bed. And maybe now you want to take an audible out on a walk outside. So it doesn't have to be a complete new routine. Maybe it's just shifting your existing routines and refreshing your existing routines so they fit better to this season, not only from a year calendar perspective, but whatever season you are in your personal life. Another one, number 8, is to connect with loved ones. Make time to connect with people in your life who bring you joy. People that are supportive, people that help you move into a positive mindset. This can help you improve your relationships, but also your overall well being. Who are some people that you haven't connected with in a long time? Maybe schedule some time to go for lunch or grab a coffee or go for a happy hour, or maybe just text them and say hi and reconnect with them. Spring cleaning your life is a process. Be patient with yourself and take it one step at a time. As I said, these are all ideas, these are all tactics. They are not meant for you to do everything. You can pick and choose whatever works for you in whatever stage you are right now and wherever you are. And maybe you don't do any of these, but just listening to some of these ideas give you ideas of what that can look like for you. That is the secret, that you personalize it, that you take what works for you and you let go of what doesn't, because that is the spirit of this spring cleaning. So these were my ideas that I wanted to share with you. These are some things that I'm personally doing this year to supplement the spring cleaning process that I shared with you last week. I do hope that this inspire you to decide to try one or two of these things, or maybe, as I said, come up with your own. In whatever case, I hope that you have a great week ahead. If you like today's content, do me a favor, share it with a friend that can benefit from today's podcast episode. With that, I will see you here next week for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.